Hey, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Rod Owens, High Priority Lawn Care. I want to talk to you about something today, and what it is it's talking about buying equipment before you have new customers. I'm sorry, not buying equipment before you have new customers, but um, going out financing brand new equipment before you have a, a clientele, before you have a customer base. That's what I want to talk about. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm not doing all that. I'm going to keep it just like it is. The thing I want to talk about is going out financing equipment or buying all brand new equipment before you even get your first customer. And the thing I want to talk to you about that is how detrimental that can be to your business, especially when you're a startup. Well, actually, that's the only way you won't have customers is if you're a startup, right? So listen, you don't want to do that. Don't go out financing a bunch of equipment. Don't go out doing all of that stuff until you got a strong customer base. The first thing you want to do is you want to, if you're just getting started in this business, you want to go out and find a cheap equipment, find used equipment, find a used trailer, find a used vehicle to drive. Or if you already have a vehicle, then that's one thing out of the way. If you already have a lawnmower that you use at your house, a weed eater that you use at your house, that's two things out of the way. But by all means, don't go out and try to be flashy and try to get all this expensive stuff before you have built up a solid customer base. Because that's what you're going to need in order to maintain yourself. Because think about it. If you go out and finance all this equipment and you don't have your first customer yet, who's to say how long it's going to take you to get that customer? And when you get them, who's to say you're going to be able to retain that customer over a long period of time? Customers don't come easy, right? It just don't show up at your door because you started a lawn care company. There's things that has to be in place for you to get customers. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things you're gonna have to do, and you will have to spend a little bit of money. And if you don't spend money, you're gonna have to spend some sweat. You're gonna have to give up some sweat to get out there and beat the pavement and get those flyers out or whatever you're doing to get out there to get people to call you back. But there are expenses that come with getting customers. And if you don't think about that and you're just going out thinking about, oh, I'm going to be flashy, I'm going to look like this, I'm going to look like the big company over here, you don't want to do that. Build your clientele first, then you worry about getting the nice equipment later. Let you put your ego down, put your pride down, put all that to the side, start out small, and grow to a big company. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you start your company off with that type of equipment, which is brand new, finance and all of that, if that's what you're doing, I don't care if you're financing it or you're buying it cash, it's still an expense. And you have to cover the cost of that expense. But I'm specifically right now talking about financing equipment because people do this all the time. They go out and finance equipment to start their companies, right? But now you're going to have to charge enough money to cover the cost of your equipment, to cover that payment that you got on your equipment. And what that would do is that would drive you out of business quickly if you can't cover the cost of that equipment. You'll find yourself going out of business because you can't afford that equipment no more because you don't have a customer base. And if you have a job and you're only working part-time, how many customers do you think you're going to be able to do when you're working a full-time job and you're doing lawn care part-time? It's just not going to work right. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go out, like I said, find cheap equipment, find used equipment, and then as you grow your clientele and build your customer base up, then you can start, I would say, years down the line. I would at least wait, until I've been doing this full time for about 3 years straight before I go out and get some new equipment. Before I go out and finance any equipment. I personally wouldn't finance equipment if I don't have to. But at this stage in the game, if me financing equipment right now won't hurt me. I've been doing this since 2013. So, I got a big enough clientele and I'm growing every day. So I'm not really concerned about it. But if you, in the beginning, I would have never thought about doing that. I didn't think about doing it then. I was always about starting small, getting cheap equipment and building my way up. Some people don't think like that. They want to jump right out there and be big time right out the bat. Well, that being big time is going to cost you. Because what you don't realize, that person pulling up in that truck that look like it's about to cut off, that trailer look like it's about to break down, that equipment that look like they can't even drive it off the trailer, they making the same money you making, but they don't have no overhead. The customer don't care what you show up in. I'm going to say that one more time. The customer don't care what you show up in. What they care about is when you leave, is their yard going to look good? That's what they care about. You can have all the fancy equipment, but if you don't, you can pull up looking, you got the logos on your truck, you got all the biggest zero turns, you got the top of the line weed eaters, top of the line edges, top of the line backpack blowers. I mean, you got the top of the line hedge trimmers, you got everything. The truck wrapped, you got the uniforms on, you got the whole nine. But if you mess up their yard, they ain't calling you back. I don't care how good and professional and pretty all your equipment look. If you mess up their yard, they ain't calling you back. So it has nothing to do with that. But it has everything to do with building your customer base up. Can you do a good job as well? So don't get so caught up in the look, especially in the beginning. Get yourself together, build your clientele, and then worry about going into the next phase later on. So my advice to close all this out is don't go out financing a whole bunch of equipment and vehicles before you get your clientele strong, because some customers you will start off with are not going to be, most likely won't be the same customers you end up with 5 years down the line. And you might not even be charging the same prices 5 years down the line that you're charging right now that you're just getting started. So don't put your foot in your mouth before you get started, and don't go out of business before you get started. Be smart about it. Start small, grow big. Don't try to start at the top, because you can't. It's nothing you can do. It's nothing that can start at the top. Anything that starts at the top is the quickest way to the bottom. You have to build a foundation and work your way up. You don't build a house from the top to the bottom. You build a house from the ground up. That's everything in life. It has to start with the ground up. If you follow that, you'll be fine. If you don't, you'll struggle. I mean, if you got a lot of money, you got it like that, then maybe you can survive it. But if you don't, and you just get, the reason why most people go into this business is to make more money. So if you already got money, then I don't know, maybe it's don't apply to you. But if you're trying to build a business, and I'm sure if you're trying to build a business, that must mean that you may be hurting financially in other areas. So you can't afford to do that. But if you step out there like that, you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. Okay? That's all I got to say. Y'all take care.